Hi, I'm Melanie Carr, life coach.
So I started this recording here, and we have some chachalaca birds outside, and it's early morning, and they're making quite a scandal. And I thought that I would record this podcast so that you guys know that I really am in the middle of the jungle. Here in Quintana Roo, Mexico, where I've decided to make my home with the people from Mexico, with the Latin people from Mexico, and well, it's beautiful here. It's absolutely beautiful. And last night I went to sleep and I asked the universe to allow me to wake up with an amazing idea in my mind to share a little bit further and deeper about the experiences I've had in my life. There's a really cute little squirrel also that's crossing through the tree in front of me here. So nice, so nice. It's beautiful. Nature is so beautiful. And it's a place where I feel like I can create the content for the podcast and the videos and to have the beauty and the space and the peaceful space to be able to share the experiences I've had. I woke up with the phrase in my mind, share the information about the altered states, energetic states that you've experienced from going through twin flame connections. In my life, I have experienced the complete passage through a twin flame relationship. At the time when I was working with my mentor, Mel Gibbs, who didn't like the label of the twin flame label. And I haven't wanted to use the label in the podcast or in the videos up to now. He was such an amazing expert on twin flame, soulmate, and connected relationships. And I haven't wanted to use the label because I don't want people to get caught and trapped and into the belief system that we have about these kind of relationships. I believe now more than ever that when he said you can have more than one twin flame relationship or soulmate relationship or different connections in your life that can be deep and soul-stirring to an incredible level, I now believe that more than ever, because in the experience I had going through the relationships, I went totally through the evolution of what was given to me as a graduate twin flame relationship. He verified that for me, and about 7 years ago, and encouraged me to just work through it, right through all the way to the very realization of the fact that our soul can have different connections with different people in different spaces of time. And I also believe he was correct when he said that there are no past lives, but there are multiple experiences happening at the same time with your soul. And that you can have more than one soul connection on a very deep level. Because our soul, our twin flame soul people, didn't come to be divided into just two parts. We have many, many parts and many connections. And I now am totally sure that he was right about that. And that past lives were more of a idea of a three-dimensional reality where time exists. but not past lives, but more moments of multidimensional experience in no time, which would be like in the fourth and fifth dimension on the other side of the curtain. And in the future podcasts, we'll get more and more into this information. I also need to experience and develop it. What I most want to talk about this morning that I woke up and I had this, I guess it's a dream state, a lucid dreaming state that happens. I ask for answers and then just see the truth or the reality, the information just comes, and we know when we're receiving information that is connected with the universe, and we also know when it's information that we have to share with others. And I want to talk about these kind of twin flame connections and multiple twin flame connections. And I also want to talk about altered states of reality in our erotic creative experiences. And I think mostly the reason that I got to this place where I can even be qualified to have a podcast like I'm doing, is I haven't talked yet in the different podcasts or the videos about why or how I'm even qualified or feel like I'm qualified to talk about this information that's so on the cutting edge of human evolution as far as sexuality and abundance and erotic abundance and creative erotic experiences. But in the connections I've had in my life, a deep graduate twin flame connection that transitioned off into an impressive growth experience for myself and my partner, who we've now transitioned our relationship into an opportunity where I'm allowed to have a connection where I can explore what I came here to share to the universe and the people here and experience. And he's also having the opportunity to grow and to have the experiences that his soul and his person needs in order to evolve and continue forward. And that is always going to be the perfect situation, because the universe is going to place in front of us the exact perfect situation for us to evolve and grow every single time. And all we have to do is trust and allow. Like Mel said, trust and allow, trust and allow. Because we don't understand so many times what is happening to us in these relationships, and our belief systems about being a couple or husband and wife in a traditional relationship sense is not going to cut it anymore when it comes to the fast transference of evolutionary information that we're going to be sharing and growing and receiving in our lives in this time. So let me dive in a little bit to my own personal experience, because, and I will try to be very careful not to give private details that have no place in the information that I need to share. I do have to share a few things, but I feel like I have permission to do that. And mostly when you do go through a relationship that has an extraordinary soul level connection on a high vibrational frequency, this is where these altered states come into play in the eroticism that we experience. And anyone that's had a a twin flame experience, a sharing of a soul on such a high vibrational level, will know and understand exactly what I'm talking about. I had so many experiences and moments where I did go through a lot of the relationship where the intimacy became separated and I was on my own in that aspect of the relationship for a very long time, and yet worked and created and did all the projects and things that we were here to create and do, and yet was so aware that my soul was connected to this person that walked by my side and shared this energy with me. And yet the work we came here to do was on a totally different level. So even though we had some really amazing experiences, we did not share a total sexual relationship on a physical level. That was the part of the work that we were here to do. That came later, and I'll talk about that further in another podcast. I want to talk about the experiences that started my understanding of how our connections that we have, our erotic connections that we have with other people, are not on a physical level, but on a very etheric fourth dimension and fifth dimension level. And this is what most blew my mind about this whole topic that I started this podcast on, and made my life become so passionate about sharing this information. And I guess it started when I was no longer able to share the physical intimacy with my partner. And my mentor said to me, because Mel Gibbs is an amazing twin flame mentor, and anyone having those kind of experiences or issues are going through the very, very difficult evolutionary experience of passing through and need guidance about twin flame relationships, only needs to go to his channel to discover information that would help anyone through any kind of relationship. But in my experience, what started to happen more than anything else was that I started to have my intimate relationship with my twin flame on a totally non-physical level. So I would do my meditation or my guided lucid dreaming situation with my own sexuality and my own personal moments. And I would be aware that this person was also in a fourth or fifth dimensional subconscious level, receiving or participating in the experience with me. And I knew that because just about every time I had an experience like that, just a few minutes after the experience, he would call me on the phone. And so I guess the connection, he wasn't aware. I think a few times I mentioned to him that I had been working on my own erotic situation, and that when I did, I participated with him in a lot of things. And he was aware I was doing that because of his own situation that he had. He was not so available to share on a physical level. So I would have these experiences where I would literally feel on an etheric level that, and almost physically, that he was with me. And this carried on for quite some time, and was the way that I was able to manage the energy in the relationship. And I was able to manage the energy because when you do have a twin flame connection, the energy of what they call a Kundalini rising in the yoga community. The energy that you receive from the connection from the universe rising up your spinal column and your chakra system is so phenomenal that you almost become like a superpowered human being, and your spiritual connection and your erotic abundance, your ability to create, becomes amplified many times over from these connections. And as I went through the relationship and the evolutionary process, and I worked through each challenge, each thing that triggered my emotional body, the kind of erotic experiences I was having on my own became more and more phenomenal. And this was the basis. I worked through every single one of the emotional detonators of my personality until I got to a place where pretty much could handle anything. I mean, we're never ever able to get to a place where we become perfect, and I think looking for perfection in yourself is also one of the lessons we have to learn, because we're not going to ever get to that place of perfection because we're human. And like Mel would say, almost perfect is close enough. And I think there's some real gems that I want to share from his words. And when I do share his words, I will always mention him. Incredible channel and connected evolutionary human being who, curiously enough, when he transitioned, when he passed, I heard him say to me that now that he didn't have to be in his physical body anymore, he would be even closer to guide me through this process and through this information that I believe that I'm supposed to share about human sexuality. And when I told him I was going to discuss these kind of things in an open channel on YouTube, he said, oh, that's not my area. I wouldn't go there. Of course, he was in his 70s, so I think it's a little easier for the younger generations and people and the second, third wave graduate soul to be able to deal maybe with this kind of information a little bit more openly. Mel considered himself a first wave graduate, and I guess just to explain what he was talking about was soul that came here to volunteer to help to channel and download information for humans about their evolutionary process and to help with the transition of the planet in this moment. And he explained to me that curiously enough, in this situation, I was one of the few people who had a mother who was a graduate soul, and then I was her daughter as a second wave graduate person who came to share this information. And I always knew I was a little strange and a little different ever since I was a child. But I guess I'm just putting this hidden into this podcast here for anyone that did start to follow and wondered who or what or why I believe that I am qualified to even speak about these things, or because we don't come here with doctorate degrees in human sexuality or any of those things, because if we did, we probably wouldn't be able to channel this information and share it and have these experiences, because our belief systems would be so they would be so already squared off from the education system, that we wouldn't be able to see beyond what we were already taught by the information that's already here on the planet. So he also believed that he was chosen for that reason to give the information he did, because he didn't have his brain already trained by a university degree. And in my case, I did 3 years of university in my music education, and never felt the need to have a piece of paper in order to sing and to share my energy on an artistic way. So enough about that. I'm trying to just let this flow the way it comes out. I'm not structured, and if anyone out there is interested in this information, they'll get through it with me. I know as I do more podcasts and videos, it will flow a little more pro. But I think the importance is the information and the message, not so much the exact perfect ability to make a podcast. So I'm not going to worry about that anymore. I'm just going to kind of let it out there. And I guess from what happened, this first intense twin flame connection, I worked all the way through it, all the way until I found my way almost out of what you would consider the physical relationship or partnership in a physical 3D world of what would be a traditional partner in my life. I kept working and working and working and growing and evolving to a point where basically I evolved out of the relationship in a way. And when I did start to ask for a way out, because you cannot force or break a connection like that on your own. You have to ask the universe to guide you. If you break it on your own, you won't receive all the evolutionary information that you came here to grow and learn, and you can do some really serious emotional damage. And I think it was one of the hardest things I ever lived through in my life. I don't want to go into the details right now about that, but just simply say that when it was time for me to transition the relationship, in that moment, I had been developing, without realizing it, another connection to another soul who walked close to me, but I didn't realize that it was going in that direction. And this person came to protect me and help me to transition the traditional relationship that I was in, to adapt it more towards what the universe had wanted it to be, and also to create the situation for the evolution of the partner that I was with. And curiously enough, the relationship started by me becoming aware of myself not having the physical intimate connection that I wanted in my life, and this other person also not having the intimate connection in the life they wanted, and both of us starting to have an empathy or an awareness of one another in a situation where we also could not share a physical intimacy, but started to share also connections and experiences in an etheric, altered state, and phenomenal experience, because we became aware that we lived very close together, just sleeping a few meters away in different rooms, and we were having the most phenomenal experience of sharing an erotic intimacy with each other at the same time, without in the 3D world expressing to each other that this was happening until after we talked about it. And over a period of a few months created a connection in an etheric altered state level, where we were sharing a deep intimacy without being aware that the other person knew about this. We were seeing each other in the same position, in the same place, and visualizing the same things at the same time. And we were not aware in the 3D physical world that this was happening. We thought that each one was just creating the experience on their own. We didn't realize that it was being shared in the same moment. And until after a little bit more communication happened and the situation happened in the universe for us to come together, and for the experiences that had to happen, because both of us were wanting to have a high vibrational level of honesty, sincerity, authenticity, transparency, and neither one of us wanted to have any kind of cheating or anything like that. And I very much needed and wanted to share with someone a relationship like that, also on a physical, intimate level, and he did also. And both of us were in relationships where we were not able to share that with our partners. And we deeply love our partners, or our ex-partners. We share a lot of things with them now, but not... Hey, doggo, let me do my podcast. Come on. I always have my little friends here with me. So if you hear some noises sometimes, but my little angels are always welcome in my podcast. Okay, doggo. Yeah. So this is what happened, and the process of having a connection first with this person in an altered state, on an etheric level, or a fifth dimensional level, and then afterwards consummating the relationship on a physical level, created an opportunity for a phenomenal connection that is basically the base of what is giving me the teaching and the information that I'm sharing in this podcast. And now that I'm not going to be allowed to continue any further, I think maybe I've shared enough for today, and given a little insight into what can happen and how these kind of altered state relationships on a fourth dimensional level can occur. And maybe it's not time to give any more details because of the situation being a little bit difficult for all people involved. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want to say or share anything that I shouldn't. And maybe my little doggies are letting me know right now that it might be just enough what I've already shared today to give people that are looking for information about this. I am going to label this twin flame because I want this information to be accessible to people who are going through these experiences and need help and guidance and are not quite sure what to do with their erotic, intimate connections that are on that level. They can be phenomenal experiences. And I guess one of the most amazing things is that the transference of evolutionary information from one person to another, even just on an etheric level, not a physical level, can be phenomenal growth for humans, and this is where my mind has been totally blown away by what I can see, what I can create, the difference in my energy, my state of a higher vibrational energy, and the way that everything has flown around the situation, the ease with which we were able to end the relationships that I didn't know how I would ever be able to end that traditional relationship that I no longer wanted on a traditional level, but so connected in my soul with my first twin flame, because I know that there's a huge community of twin flames out there who believe that there's only one and there's no more, and I no longer share that belief. I always paid attention to what Mel said, and I knew that this could happen. And he said, if you're stuck in a twin flame relationship, that is torturing the very life out of your soul. Because sometimes one person evolves a little bit, maybe works a little bit more in their evolution, and the time comes after for the other person. And some of these relationships get crazy, scary, difficult, and impossible to release. If you think you're going to do it yourself with your own mind, you're crazy. The only way to release those relationships is by going through your evolutionary process right to the very end, and then ask the universe to resolve the situation for you. And the resolution can be absolutely phenomenal. And that could lead to another situation where you can have the opportunity to share on a higher level what your next level of evolution. So have a great day, and let's see what happens when I wake up tomorrow morning. I'll just keep sharing. I don't go back and listen and edit or even try to think about the podcast and what I'm sharing. I just try to use my guidance and my intuition when I speak, and I'm hoping that little by little I'm learning to do this as I go on, and we'll get better and more pro. And I hope you enjoy the bird sounds and the doggies barking here in the jungle, because I love to be in nature, and I'm not going to go into a studio and try to make this isn't supposed to be a professional podcast it's real. This is more real. So if you like it and you're here sharing this with me, this is real, this is authentic, and this is what I came here to do. Have a great day.
Have a great day.